So hi guys, this is another talky, story-timey kind of video, compared to it being just an art topic, because realistically speaking, guys, I'm kind of burnt out on art topics right now. There's really only so many you can do unless, inspiration hits, and quite a few of them are pretty negative, and I can already hear what's going to be said. It's like, oh, you're turning into one of those people. It's like, oh, no negativity. And it's like, no, obviously there are ups and downs in life, and there are ups and downs in stories, but I just feel like there's kind of a lot of negativity going on right now, and I don't want to contribute to putting out more negative things out there right now. There's already story times and topics and stuff that I've pre-recorded that I've got all set to go, and it's not that I'm not going to use them. I'm just going to space them out a bit between things. And so I wanted to talk about my gamer story, or whatever I'm going to title it. That's probably what I'm going to title it, because it's a short and easy title. But it's just my kind of step into gaming. Now, I'm not a professional gamer. I don't work for a gaming company. Don't think that in case you're new here and you just randomly found this video. If you're new here, hi, I'm Michie, TwistedDisaster, and I do my best to make art videos every Wednesday, even if they're just topic videos like this. But to me, gaming is also an art form in the same sense. But most likely, as always, all the artwork in the background has nothing to do with the topic I'm doing right now. It's just a nice little backdrop than just, a static screen. But I did my Pokemon story recently where I talked about getting into Pokemon and like how I got into the games and how I turned into a hardcore Pokemon fan, even though people are gonna fight me. I've never played like the original games or Diamond and Pearl. I think those are the ones. I know there's like another one, but I can't think of it right now. But anyway, I just wanted to, just have a chill video and chat with you guys, just hang out and do fun stuff again. But growing up, it was funny. We didn't have consoles in my house. I've talked about this here and there, but my mom worked from home, but my mom also sold houses. She still does. But my mom sold houses, and my mom never wanted me or my brothers to be nanny kids. What is a nanny kid? It's, where, because my dad also worked at the time too. I grew up in a household where both parents worked almost all the time. And, where someone else was raising her kids. And not that there's anything against that when it's done correctly, or you need to have that because you can't afford to. But there are some people who are, finger quote, well off enough to have it be where it's like, don't want to raise my kid. I'm going to have a nanny raise the kid, and that was something my mom never wanted us, even though she had the money to do so. So my brothers and I would always go with her to clients' houses, to showing houses, and ironically, I don't remember spending a lot of time at home because my mom was doing a lot in the 90s and the early 2000s. And so it got to a point where I remember my first console was the Game Boy Advance. I know I talked about this before. When the Game Boy Color came out, because I don't think we had the normal Game Boy. My brother got one, but I got a CD player because I wasn't really into gaming, and neither was he, but he didn't want a CD player. So I was much more into music and things like the like. So I remember when I got the Advance, it was the year the Advance came out, and I had one of those pink, like you could see the wires and stuff through it, Advance, and I loved that thing. My brothers and I were always very well behaved, besides giving us the consoles and everything. And I also think that's kind of why my mom did give them to us, was so that we wouldn't be bored at some people's houses. I remember a compliment we would always get, toot my own horn here, would be like, how well behaved we were, because this was just kind of our life. There's things that when you're growing up, you think are pretty normal until you meet other people, and then they're like, that's not normal. Or then you hear about what some other people went through, and you're like, oh my god, that is so not normal. but we were always very well behaved. We would, like, we'd be quiet. It would never be like, I feel like, and this sounds silly, but I feel like if we had grown up now in the era of, like, having internet everywhere and streaming everywhere, we probably would have been bratty kids if, like, they didn't have good Wi-Fi or something. I'm not saying that's all people. I just had this feeling about me and my family. But I remember, oh man, ironically enough, I hated the music. I hated the advanced music. I didn't like those sounds. I don't know why. I would almost always play with my advanced, like, muted, and I would just play the games. And my games that I loved playing were, the first ones I can remember from memory were Super Mario Bros. It was the one that was made for the color, that was originally a console game, put on the color, but I had that one, so that giant thing was sticking out of my advance. I also had almost every Mario game that came out after that. I had a Spyro game, I had a Sonic game, lots of Sonic games. I grew up on the Sonic Advance games and the Mario Advance games, and they just, I loved them. I fell in love with that. It was such a great thing. But ironically enough, I don't remember playing them a lot when I was home. Obviously, I would, but I remember back in those days, we didn't have backlights like they do now. And so when you wanted to play something, you'd have to be in a well-lit room or, like, have a flashlight or one of those little stupid little jelly light things. Where I remember having those, and oh my god, I hated that thing. It was so bad. And then when the SP came out, we were also obsessed with that. But the first console we had ever gotten was a GameCube. And it was a gift from my uncle. And, I remember putting so much time into that GameCube. And that was my first real console. And it was something where I had finally I had jumped from, pixel side scrollers to, which, I mean, the Advance, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, if not, then it must have been the SP, but they had some, like, really, really, really low polygon 3D games on it, unless I'm, like, having a fever dream right now when I'm saying this. But I remember on the GameCube playing I put so many hours in Super Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, and the Naruto fighting games for the GameCube. That was, like, later on, but oh my god, I put so much time into that GameCube. But the funny thing is, I never played games for the story. In fact, I talked about this previously in like really older videos, but I had a reading disorder at the time that was undiagnosed. If you guys don't know, I have I always forget the technical term. It is a type of dyslexia. I call it selective dyslexia, where I would catch other mistakes, but if it's like I write myself, I don't really catch it, or my brain plays tricks on me, so when I know something's spelled right, my brain tells me it's not, and it really sucks. But growing up with that, it was really hard for me to learn spelling, and it was really hard for me to read. And if you guys didn't know, very few GameCube games had, like, actual speaking roles. Nintendo's kind of infamous for their characters not having vocals, which was why when Breath of the Wild came out and we heard Zelda talk, everybody lost their goddamn mind. Because, yeah, they talked, but they didn't talk, if you know what I mean. They like, had, like, made-up languages, or they would have the text boxes. They would never actually talk. So, I remember Flood talking, and the weird cutscenes from Super Mario Sunshine. But, again, those were very rare talking moments, and I never really read things. I was a person where I would skip reading things because I couldn't read well, and so I would skip through it. And it wasn't until BioShock 1 that I actually got into story games. Super Mario Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion, yeah, it has a story, but Mario storylines aren't that deep. People can fight me, like, as a Mario fan and a Sonic fan, the lore was never that deep until they got into, like, later games, but we're not talking about that. And so anyway, I remember being in such a weird place when I got that, because there was a time where I was really into gaming, and then I just wasn't anymore. I was on the computer more. I was getting more into anime. I was in my weird, like, edgy phase, where my edgy phase was like, I'm too cool for games. I don't know why. Like, for a lot of people it was like, I'm too cool for cartoons, but for me, like, I didn't care about that. I mean, I was like a high schooler and I was watching Arthur still because I liked Arthur, and stuff like that. And I also like Digimon and stuff like that. I mean, Digimon's technically an anime, but you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying with this rambles here. But I was in a really dark place in high school, and I remember I had tried playing BioShock originally, and I sucked at it. Oh, I sucked at it. I remember I got stuck at this one part, and I just didn't touch it. I did not touch it. But then I remember being in a really bad place, and I forgot what it was. Something, like, sparked in me to replay that game again. And I replayed it. And when I replayed that game, when I replayed the first BioShock that time, I don't know what it was. I don't remember what was going on, but I remember just getting so sucked into the story and the world, unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. And I just, oh man, I couldn't get over it. My brother's always been obsessed with like all kinds of gaming and all this stuff. And I had a PS2, when the PS2, I don't want to say came out because I got it later because it was a cheaper DVD player, but I played PS2 games, I played those things, but nothing will ever beat the BioShock experience for me. Because even though I played other games, I just don't know. I never got immersed in it. And then there were other games that came out a lot later. I mean, that came out earlier that I never played, that I played like the remasters of, like the Assassin's Creed trilogy and the Jack games and a lot of other things. But getting into BioShock the way it did really got me into storytelling as a whole. Because I'd always been a fan of movies and shows, but because of my reading stuff, and there isn't that much reading in BioShock, realistically, but I remember being like, this is a world. This feels lived in. This feels real, for as real as, shooting up drugs and attacking druggies underwater can be. But it was something that always stuck to me. And whenever I think to it, and I think of people, growing up with gaming and being obsessed with it and this and that, I don't know. I thought, my story isn't really like that. Like, I've had ups and downs where I've just been like, into it, not really into it, into it, not really into it. But when I replayed that BioShock game, and I played it all the way through, and then I remember shortly after that BioShock 2 came out, and I remember BioShock 2 was the first game I ever, like, full-on binged. I was still at school time, so I didn't do it as hardcore, but when BioShock Infinite came out, oh my god, I did not stop. I beat that game in one playthrough. And that's why BioShock is a special place in my heart, and I've replayed it so many times. And when I got the HD collection for my birthday last year? Was it last year? No, it wasn't last year. It was the year before that. But I remember just falling in love with it again and remembering all these things and remembering where it was for me, and where gaming was for me and how gaming is now. I do consider myself a gamer, but I am very, very much not a hardcore gamer. I love games, but I love the games for the stories. I love falling into this world and falling into the lore and just being sucked into the characters. And it's also why being honest, I'm pretty bad at playing like online multiplayer games. Unless they like don't really have much of a plot to them. And it was a jumping off point for me of where, gaming got me into reading, and reading got me into, I always had my stories, but I never had like a way to like, visualize it and get it out there like it did. And now I'm very much I like playing on normal or easy mode the first time I play a game, beating through the story, then going back and playing it on a harder mode. Or I'll do trophy hunting if the trophies are fun. But if it's not, I just don't see much of a point. So, yeah, that's my gaming story of how I got into gaming and how I just enjoy gaming, and just a nice little thing. And I'd love to hear, like, if you guys are gamers too, like, what your story is, what was the game that got you, like, really, really into it? Or what was the thing that, like, everybody has that one thing. It could be art, but it's like there's like a moment in your life where you just remember something like clicked, and this is something for you. But it's also one thing where I'm like, well, I love games. I could never work in the gaming industry unless I was to like design assets for it or something. Because while I love math, I know it's weird. I love math. I am terrible with coding. So, all right, I've rambled on enough. This was nice. Just these little, like, deep dives, chill talks, me not getting hated and everything. So, as always, guys, I will see you next time. Bye.